Hey guys, it's Crazy Horse here. So today what we're going to be doing is a A10CII startup checklist. So a couple of things you need to be aware of. The A10CII is a little different. As you can see, there are some switches which are already going to be on. So we'll still go over as a verification on those. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start our battery. So that's going to be on the right console down here on this power unit. Battery on. Inverter to standby. So we're going to go over here to the left hand console and test our warning lights. It's going to be right here. Just look around the console, make sure everything looks like it works, and it does. Next we're going to test our fire suppression warning system. And everything's coming on good. We're going to go over here to the fuel panel. Now, one thing you need to know is it's in a wing format here on the fuel display. So go ahead and with a right click, turn it over to internal, and then press this button here for a test indicator. And that's good to go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our oxygen is on, and it is, and then we're going to test it. Just hold that down until you see that warning light come on. And there we go, you can release it. And as you see, it might spin all the way around, and that's perfectly fine. We're going to go ahead and turn our radios on. So a right click on the top radio here. Right click here to main. And again here, sorry for that shake. And that's going to turn all of our radios on. Boost pumps, we're going to verify those are on. So next thing we're going to do is turn the APU on, and you can see the APU is right there. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to watch the APU dial right here, this gauge, and we're going to make sure that it gets to at least 80%. After it's at 80%, we can look down here at the power gauge and turn on the APU generator. And as you see, by the time you do that, once it's at 80%, you're going to be at 100%. So next thing you want to do is you're going to go down here, change your to your tower frequency. For this, it's 251.1. And then you're going to request a startup. To do that, LDOF for tower Dragon 11 request startup. So the next thing we're going to do is lift our left throttle. And there we go. That's going to start our startup process, and you're going to see your dial start to move on the left-hand side right here. So you need to have your PSI up in the green. You're going to be just above 60. And this is going to stay fairly stable right here. So what we're going to do next is set our ARC186 VHF right there. We're going to set that to 30.1. That is the internal for the 25th. Then we're going to set the CRAD up so we can have secure comms. So CRAD 2 and turn our switch to on, and that'll give us that secure comm. So now we're going to check and make sure our left engine is stable. It looks stable. And we can go ahead and lift our right throttle. There we go. You'll need to look and figure out what your key binding is for that. So for the next thing, and just for ease of use, we're going to close the canopy so that it's not quite as noisy in here. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to test our flaps. As you can see, they're dropping. They went to 100%, and then we're going to raise them again. We're going to test our speed brake. Speed brake's all the way up, and it retracts properly. And then we're going to test our control surfaces. So you're going to look at your wing, make sure that everything appears to be working properly. And then we're going to make sure that our right engine is stabilized. You can see they both look stable, so we can turn our APU generator off and shut down our APU. So after that, what we're going to do is we're going to turn our CDU on, which is on the right-hand console. It's going to be this switch right here. and then our EGI. While that's starting up, we're going to go over here and we're going to go ahead and uncage the SAI and make sure it's level. We're going to turn on our left and right MFD, and we're on daytime, so we'll go ahead and switch that to day. Our CICU is going to get turned on, and then our IFFCC is going to get turned to test. So, and that's a very important part there. Make sure you turn it to test. So we're going to hit enter. It's going to say engage pre-flight bit test. Enter. Now it's going to go into a testing mode. And while it's doing that, we can look over here on the left-hand console and turn our SAS yaw and pitch on. And then we're going to hit the takeoff. Trim right there. Now we have to wait for these MFD CDs to load. As we do that, our MFDs we're going to load all of our programs. There we go. We're going to hit load all. What that does is that's going to load each individual program for all of your electronics in here. And we can do different things like load pages, load TGP, the DSMS, and the TAD separately. Once the programming is done, you're going to see some stars appear on the beside. There we go, little dots. So we're now going to change the right MFD to CDU. Then we're going to go over here and turn this to the TAD. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and exit our bit test. You can see it's clear. Hit exit, and then scroll using the select down there. There we go. And then we're going to turn our IFCC on. Right click, and that turns it on. We're going to set our TAD group real quick, since we're already messing with that. So go to net, and then we're going to do 2.5 for the group ID, and we're going to be number 1 on the flight. And there we go. Now you'll be assigned your TAD ID based on the flight that you're on. So as you see here, this countdown right here says 2.0. That means it's at 2 minutes. This has to get to 4 minutes, and it will stabilize, and then it will flash INS nav ready. Until you do that, do not touch anything. Okay? So while we're doing that, we're going to do our countermeasures panel down here. Turn that to standby and flip all 4 switches on. We're waiting still, so I can go ahead and turn my PTO on, which is going to be this little square knob on the right hand side. At this point, what we can do is we can turn our JTARs on. And now we have to wait for that position. So while we're waiting, let's go over our inventory here. And we actually have everything loaded already. So we have 2 GBU54s, 2 GBU38s, 2 GBU12s, and 1 M151L pod, which holds 7 rockets. And those are the laser guided. We're also carrying a ALQ-184 and an AIM-9 along with our TGP. We're going to look over here. We got about 30 seconds left before we're good to go on that. Something else we can be doing while we're doing this is let's go over here, and we're going to turn our HEMIX to on. And then if you want to, as you can see, when I turn my head, I can see my HEMIX, and boom, it's gone. I can't see it through the aircraft. I don't like that. So I'm going to go over here to Stat. I'm going to go to HEMIX. And then what you can see is that center button you'll watch me hit. Turn it to on. Scroll down. On. And not all of them will, as you can see. There's several options. This is just a great time to get this done while you're waiting on the CDU to come up, get aligned. You can't really move forward until that's done. The other thing that you could be doing, and we're going to do this later on in the video, in another video here, is setting your laser codes and setting up your weapons. And obviously I'm doing the exact same one there. So let's go back to CDU on that page. There we go. We are now aligned. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to set the CDU to flight plan, because we already have a flight plan in there, and then we're going to hit this nav button. So we're going to turn our EGI on, the Iggy, and that's going to be right here. That's how you're going to get all of your indicators on the HUD and your proper navigation. So that's very important. Then we're going to turn on the EAC, which is at the bottom part of the throttle right there. There you go. And we're going to turn our radar altimeter on. We need to arm the ejection seat. Turn on our anti-skid. Turn on the nose wheel steering. And confirm that it's on there. Close the canopy, which we've already done. And then we're going to verify that our DSMS is loaded. What I mean by that is if any of this is red, then you need to reload the DSMS page. You're going to do that through that load page, and then you'd hit the load DSMS. Alright guys, so the next step, it'll be in the next video. We'll see you here shortly.